This is an insane lineup, man.
Oh.
Bad Terms, Bomber, Ultra Sect, Castillo, and Reeks, man. That's in Templars. That's nuts.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome show. I can't wait. A lot, plus a lot of. I'm friends with just about every band on the lineup, and plus a lot of friends, including some from out of town, are coming in for the show, and it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great night.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review podcast. I've got an incredibly special guest today. This is Perry with the Templars. This is kind of crazy, man. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it's my only day off this week, so I'm a little bit tired.
Well, I tell you.
Yeah, I've been busy with work.
What do you do outside of music?
So.
What do you do outside of music?
Right now I work for a catering company, and I do displays, like product displays of supermarkets, whatever. Anything.
Oh, I've done stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all.
Yeah,
when
you live in a place like LA, man, the hustle never stops. So.
Yeah, I can imagine that the cost of living is pretty high out there in LA. I mean, it's
rough. Like when I see people in other parts of the country complaining about $3 a gallon gas, I'm just like, dude.
I went to Pittsburgh.
Jobs generally pay a lot more out here too than they do in other places. So I mean,
sure,
it balances itself out to an extent, but
right.
There's just no way around the fact, man, this place it's expensive. But,
I think
just do the best I can.
Everywhere is kind of expensive right now. I feel fortunate for being in the South, Houston, especially with gas prices being low here. I went to Pittsburgh, and dude, I was shocked at the prices of gas. I was like, oh, I'm glad I don't drive around out here a lot. And I can only imagine like New York and LA are probably even more expensive.
Yeah, New York is bad too. Actually, my girlfriend and I were up in the Bay Area not too long ago, and it's even more up there than it is down here. So it's rough. But I guess with Texas, Houston, like a lot of the refineries are right down there on the coast, so that probably makes a difference. Plus, I know you guys don't have as many regulations either. So
right. No, that stuff's kind of crazy on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Dude, I
mean, a certain amount of regulations I think are good. It's definitely
for sure
in the era. I remember how bad the smog used to be out here in the 80s when I'd come out here versus now, and it's definitely a lot better. But at the same time, it's like California. It's a little bit. It's over the top.
There's they're trying to do all kinds of things, and I'm not super into the politics of California since I don't go there or live there or anything. But when I hear stuff, I'm always kind of like, whoa, what's happening? I'm not, just whatever. It's a lot. Everything's a mess right now. The whole country's a mess.
Oh yeah, dude, it is. Yeah.
So
it's a hell of a time to be alive. That's for sure.
Man, absolutely. I feel like we're about to hit another resurgence of like real punk rock music. We're kind of already in the middle of it because things are so crazy. And it's like when this kind of stuff happens with our country, our people, and our class of citizens, it's like that's when you start getting like rebellious, angry music is prevalent again.
Yeah.
And it's starting to rear its ugly head again. I don't, for the better or the worse, I don't know, but I enjoy it, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The scene is definitely on a high right now.
Yeah, you sent me a flyer. So you guys, the Templars, are playing Friday, and you're playing with. This is an insane lineup, man. Bad Terms, Bomber, Ultra Sect, Castillo, and Reeks, man. That's in the Templars. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome show. I can't wait. I'm friends with just about every band on the lineup, and plus a lot of friends, including some from out of town, are coming in for the show, and it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great night.
Yeah, if I had the time and money, I would absolutely travel for that kind of lineup. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like the West Coast. The Oi scene's kicking out here. We have some really great bands, and there's always something going on. Just about every weekend, something. So
the Oi scene down in Texas is pretty nice right now, and I've been a street punk guy my whole life, but I've told people, the older I get, the more I connect with Oi music, and I'm just kind of paying more attention now. And it's thriving out here too. I imagine there's just more more bands in general in California, but
Oh
we
yeah,
got a healthy scene down here right now. It's pretty cool. They showed up and showed out last night for Reeks, man. It was awesome.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, yeah, you guys do have a lot of really good bands in Texas. Like the band I've got here in LA, Before Dawn. We played a show in San Diego with Bullshit Detector just a couple months ago, 2-3 months ago, and yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah, dude. That's shout out to Richard,
really,
man. That's the homie.
yeah.
Sorry.
And
So
we just played with Soft Kill here in LA last week, and we played with Concrete Elite, and yeah, they were really good. Yeah.
Yeah, Concrete Elite's the homies too. The Soft Kill's getting huge.
Yeah, I know, dude. Yeah, that place is yeah, it's the same venue that the Templars are playing at, and yeah,
Okay.
I think the Soft Kill show was sold out. I'm pretty sure it was. The place is packed, and yeah, it was fun. It was a really fun show.
They're from Chicago, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, those dudes are super cool, man. I've met them a couple of times. Once down here, and I met them when I was in Pittsburgh, just very briefly. Nothing like, friendly or anything, but super nice, and they were very sweet when I talked to them. But
yeah, really, really nice people. They did us a solid and got us on the show, and it was really good for us. And yeah, they're a great band.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a lot of exposure when you got a new project going,
Yeah.
So with Before Dawn, I want to talk about Templars in a minute, but with Before Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of music would you describe it as if you were going to talk to somebody that was interested in it?
Well, when we started the band, we wanted, we call ourselves a death rock band. Like death rock is kind of an offshoot of punk that started in the very early 80s out here in LA with like bands like 45 Grave, Christian Death, and like some lesser known ones like Community AFK. They were a really important band to that scene, Nervous Gender, bands like that.
Okay.
And we wanted to do something like that. Like Dance With Me, Beneath the Shadows era, TSOL, that fits right in with that, with that whole thing. And that was kind of the inspiration for wanting to start the band. That and some of their 80s, like UK, like gothic rock stuff. Like, New Model Army, a little bit of Sisters of Mercy, Death Cult, which kind of evolved into the Cult. I mean, we're like huge fans of theirs. So, we wanted to mix kind of a mix of all that together. It's kind of, what we're doing.
That's awesome. I'm very, very excited about that whole scenario.
Yeah, it's a nice break from Oi. I love my Oi music, but I like a lot of different types of music outside of that. And I've always wanted to do something a little bit, different, and I got the opportunity to do it. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
A lot of times I think it's funny, and that's not funny necessarily, but it's something I just recognized. Like as the older we get as punk rockers, it's like when you're like, let's say 17 to say 25, 30, you're pretty much in this like groove of a specific genre, right? And then you get a little older and you're like, okay, I want to play some different stuff. And it's interesting to see people as we get a little older like branch out and make really eclectic different kinds of music. And it's very refreshing to see people that I know, love, and respect making stuff that maybe we wouldn't listen to if it was like a radio band that was like whatever. But if you put a little bit more DIY ethic into it and bring it out to our style of venue and stuff, it becomes a pretty nice change of pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, that really sums up my experience like with punk. Like, I got into it like in 1980, really, when I was like a high school freshman. And like, early on, it was like, I was all about like, UK 82 leather and studs punk rock.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked Oi along with that. And, got mid 80s, I became a skinhead and was all about Oi and, so on and so forth, two-tone ska, stuff like that. But I've always, even from the beginning, like back when I first got into punk, I also got into bands like Killing Joke, Joy Division. There was a band called Theater of Hate that I was really into back in the early 80s that were kind of a good bridge between like punk and post-punk. They had elements.
I don't know them.
Yeah, you should check them out. They're they're on Spotify and YouTube. Yeah, check them out. I think you might be impressed.
Yeah, I'm writing that one down.
Yeah,
if you see me look down, I'm writing a lot of notes.
Yeah, another influence on what I'm doing with Before Dawn. So
okay.
Yeah, but now it's like, but I kind of kept that quiet from a lot, my other musical taste kind of quiet from a lot of my friends, back then, because, I was all gung ho into like, the punk rock shit. But, as I've gotten older, I've like, I listen to all kinds of stuff. I like, some metal, a lot of post punk and goth stuff. Britpop. I'm a huge Oasis fan.
I know,
I got
dude.
into them in the '90s. That was like one of my '90s bands that I loved. So
I would rather listen to Oasis than Nirvana. Like I really like they're fantastic musicians and they have
yeah, totally.
incredibly well recorded and engineered albums. Their stuff sounds beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you get a good
Noel
stereo,
Gallagher, one of the best songwriters of the last 30 years, easily. I mean, yeah, they
I
were
would agree
great.
with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, hell yeah. Uh, it's funny. I think when we're young, we're all a bit more insecure, and so we don't really let our true tastes shine through so much. But I think that's kind of a it's like a rite of passage. We all go through that. We all do that, and everybody I know has gotten a little less. Uh, they've gotten more eclectic. I guess is the only word I can come up with their tastes, and it's
yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, wow. I like the first thing I really watched on your channel, like when you did that like cold wave thing, and it's like really interesting how a lot of skinhead and oi fans are like kind of messing around with post punk and doing like different types of music, like like Soft Kill, for example. They're not a
Right.
skinhead band per se, but they definitely come from that world, and they're blending all these different elements, and a lot of French bands like Cran, and have you heard this French band called Oi Boys by chance?
I've heard the name. I'm not sure if I've heard the
Yeah,
music.
if you like stuff like Cran, check them out. Yeah, it's like brilliant. Yeah, they've got one album out. It turned up on one of my Spotify like recommendations, and I checked it out, and I've been listening to it just about every day. So,
Damn.
yeah, it's a
That's
really good record. Yeah.
well, that video that you're talking about, I made it just out of sheer like desire to tell people like, hey, I like this music. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's cool. And
Yeah.
it's been one of the most productive pieces of content that I've ever made. And I am so grateful that people have watched it and that I've met a fair amount of people that I really like and listen to their music through that video. So it's pretty awesome to have a thing like that become a bridge for me and people that I didn't know yet. And we're all in the same world, so it's not like we wouldn't be friendly. It's just how do you know who to talk to and who to
Yeah.
contact? And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how to reach out to these people most of the time. It's like
Yeah.
sheer luck.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks a lot for the mention too in that street punk video you did. Like, yeah, I was not expecting that when I watched.
Dude.
So
I I,
yeah,
I try to
yeah, I
do.
shared it with the rest of the guys in the band, and yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I try to do my due diligence, man. I am by no means consider myself like an expert or an authority on any of it. I've been a fan my entire life. I've lived it since I was about 16, maybe 15. So
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
mean, I've got the stories and everything else. But being from Texas, I've never really left and gone anywhere.
Oh,
And so
okay.
there's a lot of stuff that I just simply never was made aware of. And I'm still learning stuff at 42 years old. And, you know,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
almost 26 years into the scene, I'm still like, oh, I didn't know that. And
Oh, dude.
it
Yeah.
is what it is, man. I don't care if you
Learning.
people don't, but speaking of that actual statement, I when I was looking at information for your band, there just isn't a lot of information out there. So I would love to just shut up and let you tell me a little bit about Templars and the history of your band. Like, how did you guys start? When was your first record put out, et cetera, et cetera? You got a few minutes to tell us about the
Yeah.
band?
Yeah, I'll do the best I can. I'm not an original member of the band, but
Okay.
I've known those guys almost their whole existence. So I think I can fill you in on all the basics at least. Yeah, they started, well, Phil, the drummer, and Carl, the singer guitarist, they met in 1990 because they lived near each other in Long Island, New York. And they just started messing around, like kind of just jamming out, and I guess at Carl's house, and like doing covers originally. Then
Okay.
they started writing their own tunes, and it was just the two of them for like a couple of years. Then they got to the point where they wanted to start, like maybe trying to play some gigs, and they got a friend of theirs named Don to play bass. And that was in '92, I think. That's when they started playing shows and stuff like that. And it just went from there. I think the first record they did was a Poor Knights of Acre EP that came out in 1993 on a Boston label called Sonic Aggression. which was a
Okay.
pretty cool little label. Like they released the first Bruiser 7-inch.
Damn.
They did some other records as well. It's like, man, you know, memory escapes. It's been a lot of years now.
Dude,
But
the first
yeah,
Bruisers, that's crazy.
yeah, they did I used to have that Bruiser 7-inch. God only knows what it's going for these days. But yeah, they you know, so they started playing shows, and I met those guys in '93 in Washington D.C. There was a big Oi festival there, and like yeah, that's where I met them. Oxblood played that show as well, from what I remember. Patriot from North Carolina played. It was a really good time. You know, I
Damn,
was living in
93.
Chicago. I was living in Chicago. That's where I was born and raised. I went out there for
Okay.
that, and I met them, and we stayed in. We'd known each other because I was doing a fanzine back then, and
Okay.
if I remember correctly, I think Phil was doing a zine. I think his zine was going at the same time, and so we knew each other through the fanzine world. And we kept in touch, and fast forward a couple of years. Well, I guess first they released their first record, Jacques Molay. I think that came out in '94, and then they did the follow up, Phase 2 in '95. That's where I come in the picture.
Okay.
Because somewhere in 1995, the Business came to America for the first time. Yeah, they just played 2 shows, one in New York and one in North Carolina. I flew out for the New York show. And yeah, you know Bodon, the guy that sings for that band Antagonizes ATL, and
I
does
don't.
booking in Atlanta. Anyway, yeah, he's a real guy. He does a lot for the scene down in Atlanta now.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's the guy that brought the Business over.
Oh,
And
wow.
let me see. I know Scott, a couple of friends of ours, Scott and Ben from this band Piston Broke. They were from Detroit. They were at the show. They weren't on the lineup, but they wanted to play a couple of songs. And Scott asked Bodon, yeah, can we muscle our way on the bill and play a couple of songs? But the bassist and drummer weren't there. So he asked me and Phil if we could learn a couple of songs and jump up and play with them. And I was learning the songs backstage while a band was on stage. He was teaching me, Ben, the guitar player, was teaching me the songs backstage. So yeah, we got up and played a couple of songs. They were pitch perfect. The crowd loved it. And Phil was apparently impressed enough with my bass playing to ask me to join the band at the end of the year. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, rest is history, I guess.
That's amazing, man. So when you started playing with them, how did that? What was the first experience like recording an album with them, touring with Templars? How'd that work out for you?
Well, I didn't record with them until much later because
Okay.
pretty much most of their early records, and even now, they've kind of gone back to that. Pretty much they were just recorded at Acre Studios, which is basically Carl's attic at his parents' house in Long Island, and now it's his he's got a spare room at his place in Nashville, which is where he lives now, where he has all his guitars and all his studio equipment and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much where how they used to record. Just him and Phil doing everything, and then he'd send me the tracks. I'd learn them on bass, and we decide what to play live.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I just pretty much played live with them up until '99. We released an album called Omnidatum Optimum on a GMM record. That was Mark Noah from the Anti-Heroes, his label.
Yeah, I know GMM.
Yeah, Mark. So Mark flew us down to Atlanta and put us in a real studio, and that was my first studio experience.
Yeah.
With them. And yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm still really proud of that album, and yeah.
Dude, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, we still play a couple of songs off of it live.
I think quite a few bands do recording like that, where they have a couple of quote unquote primary members that do a lot of the writing, and they just kind of have like let's say you have a band where there's a lot of turnover. And I'm not speaking about the Templars, but just any band, Joe Schmo and the Joe Schmoes, whatever, right? There's a lot of turnover. They'll have the singer and let's say the lead guitar player or the drummer will be the 2 guys that have been in the band the whole time, and they go, hey, we'll just write everything, we'll record it, and if we can get some friends to come help us out. And it's fairly common to have people that do a lot of the writing and recording, is my point. But that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, it's really easy to record now because you have all these things that weren't around back when we were starting to do stuff. like, Pro Tools and GarageLand and all these different computer programs and stuff like that,
Well,
And,
I remember
it's
even
so much
in
easier to do home recording now than it used to be.
oh, it used to be impossible to do it at your house, man. It was like maybe a 4-track set up in the garage. It sound like crap, but you can get something recorded. But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, all of it live, all these hanging microphones in the room, and just like, all right, guys, let's all point everything in the middle, play as loud as you can. Get
Yep.
the PA over here. Maybe have one mic on the PA for vocals, and you can. What's he saying? I could barely hear it. It was kind of fun though,
Yeah.
doing it like that, the guerrilla style recording. But
Yeah, like a lot of our early records, I mean, the recording quality is not great, but it adds to the charm, I guess.
it's funny. When I was young, I used to not like that kind of stuff. As I get older, I really kind of gravitate towards a more lo-fi sound sometimes. Not all the time, but I'll hear something like I didn't like original Misfits recordings until I was like mid-20s, man. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it now because you start learning the history of how and why they were recorded like that, and it makes it mean something completely different. So that's pretty cool, man. You talking about you used to do zines and stuff. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were kind of talking about how like YouTube and social media and getting interviews and podcasting is almost like kind of taking the place of that.
Oh, it
And
totally has. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
Print fanzines are like, pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the internet pretty much killed the fanzine trade, more or less. Everything's online now.
Yeah, I wrote for a couple of small fanzines only. I mean, just a few times, a couple of interviews and a couple of articles and like columns, I guess. I wrote probably maybe less than a couple dozen the whole time I did it, but I was aware of that, and I used to cop zines from people all the time and stuff, and I loved reading them and learning about other cities and states. But I remember when when MySpace first came out in like the early 2000s.
Mhm.
That was my first taste of getting access to people that I had no other way of doing it outside of the internet. And I was like, oh, one day I'm going to be doing this. And I mean, it took 20 years, but I was like, okay, I finally got to do the stuff that I've always wanted to do, which is talk to musicians and put out my own thoughts and things on this stuff. I don't think I'm built for playing music. I always wanted to, but it just wasn't in the cards for me.
Yeah. I always wanted to be a singer, but I can't sing. So
Bro,
I figured if I want to be in a band, I got to learn an instrument. And
shit, man, most punk singers can't sing.
yeah, well, that's true. But I was gifted a bass in the mid 1980s. And
Okay.
sat down and taught myself how to play it gradually, and
Did you learn how to play it? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Did you learn how to play it by listening to other songs and trying to learn those songs, or was it?
Yeah, totally. Just listening along the records and kind of figuring out, okay, oh, this note is this, and and just try there, and then gradually, just started to learning to play basic stuff like Ramones records were great for learning bass.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, and I used to play along that stuff a lot, and some of the early like oi stuff too, and hardcore stuff. But and I just kind of started learning how to play like more intricate stuff from there.
When you're young and you have a little time, you can be patient and sit down and listen to a song 6 or 7 times, learn something. Let's fast forward a little bit. And back then it was even harder because you had to do it either on probably tape or CD, I would think. Maybe in the 80s, probably tapes or records.
Yeah, vinyl. Yeah, used to. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Play along the records. You want to learn a part, you got to keep putting the needle back, to try to.
Oh yeah.
Or just starting the song over. Yeah.
Oh, I would probably just start the song over. I'm so bad about trying to. Even now, I know how resilient vinyl can really be, especially if you have a good turntable. But I still get all worried, so I just try to go track by track. If I want to change anything, I would never try to like go in the middle of a song. I would be like, I'm gonna mess it up somehow. I don't think that's gonna happen. But what are some of the first songs you remember learning how to play?
Blitzkrieg Bop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to like. My favorite Ramones album is Rocket to Russia. I used to play along that record.
Okay.
So just learning, Cretin Hop and like, Rockaway, some of the songs on that record, Then some of the early like, UK punk, I was listening to a lot, but this time I was really into like a lot of UK punk and like oi stuff. So like stuff like Anapasti, No Government, By Squad, Last Rockers. I mean,
oh yeah.
And when I was I knew I was really starting to get somewhere where I could like play along to like, Sham 69 Angelic Upstarts records. There's a lot of cool bass lines on those records. Same Cockney Rejects also.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh no, there's a lot of like
that stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm getting where I want to be at now, kind of. So
yeah, there's a lot more groove in those records. Like
mhm.
that's what separates, in my opinion, some of the older Oi music. And again, not an expert, folks. Don't get mad at me. But like some of the stuff that I hear is like some of it is straightforward, like street rock, street punk, and
Mhm.
some of it is like that. But you can tell that the guys that play in it also listen to a lot of like rhythm and blues and probably just outright jazz music and stuff because
Yeah,
the bass lines specifically are a little more walking around on the fretboard versus just
right.
straightforward da 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 da. It's more of a and when you get to playing that stuff, you're probably a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, you can definitely see the lineage that goes back to like 50s rock and roll, like the originals.
Yeah.
Yes. Kind of, yeah, real similar song chord structures and yeah, bass lines and stuff like that. Just with, more oomph to it.
Right, right, right. Well, once you get a little bit better at playing, if you don't increase your difficulty level playing the songs that you write, you're going to get bored. So, or
Right.
you won't improve, which both of those are negative. Uh, and actually, I have a random question for you. So, I talked to a buddy of mine about like my favorite guitar players in punk rock, and I didn't really know how to approach that conversation. And one of the guys that I brought to the table, and he was flabbergasted by this, was Chuck Berry. And I was
Mm.
like, "Yeah, dude, without Chuck Berry, we wouldn't have any of the
Oh, yeah.
little fancy like guitar leads that all punk rock bands have in them. They're all Chuck Berry leads." And he's
Oh,
like, "Yeah,
absolutely. Like if you listen to that Sex Pistols record, I mean, Steve Jones guitar playing, it's like Chuck Berry on steroids. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's like Barry, you can very similar, and you can totally tell. Well, channeled through Johnny Thunders, New York Dolls.
sure, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah."
I mean, it's like, yeah, the lineage is like totally there for sure.
Oh, it goes right. I mean, and Chuck Berry was a punk rock dude, man. That guy didn't give a shit. He did what he wanted.
Yeah,
And
yep.
I think
Mhm.
I try to explain to people like pretty frequently that there's a difference between like you can be like a guy that I would consider like a punk rock dude and not play punk music. And you could play punk
Oh,
music and not necessarily be a punk rock person. There's definitely a punk rock sound and a punk rock lifestyle. They're oftentimes, most of the time, intertwined,
yeah.
not all the time. And sometimes you could just be you know, of one, I guess. I don't know how that would make a lot of sense to me personally, but I've
Mhm.
definitely seen it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the Sex Pistols record is one that if you don't listen to it for 10 years, which I guess is I don't know, 10 years could fly right by without me listening to that album. But if you put it back on, it's almost shocking how good it still sounds.
Oh, yeah,
Like
totally.
it's just like because you see John Lydon out doing his thing, and he's a different person than he was back then. I mean, we all are.
Mhm.
Uh, and so you're like, oh, that guy, who's this dude? Da 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 da. But if you go listen to the record, man, you can kind of feel 1977, 1978, 1979. You can feel that part of the world, that history of the world through that record. And then that's the same with the Ramones records. You can kind of feel that era. It's interesting.
Mhm. Oh, totally. Yeah, that's that. I still listen to that album at least every couple 3 months. I get
Yeah.
check it out, and it always sounds fresh to me still. Yeah, same thing with a lot of those old like 70s era punk records. I still listen to a lot of that stuff pretty frequently. And
I listen to Coxbar a lot, like a
mm,
lot, like probably more than I even should, like a lot, to where it's like get a little repetitive. I'm like, yeah, but it's always Rancid's my favorite band, and
uh,
so I listen to them every day almost, and I'm like, dude, Coxbar and One Man Army from San Francisco, they're up top. I listen to that stuff; it doesn't really get old to me. So,
yeah, totally.
uh, what are some of
Yeah.
your favorite bands and biggest influences?
Oh man, a lot of them. That's a tough one. I'll go with the influences part first. That's probably the easier question to answer. As far as my bass playing goes, and my inspiration to wanting to play bass in the first place, I'd say biggest influences are probably Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, Lemmy from Motorhead.
Oh yeah,
Um, see who else? Like some of the early like guys, and Dave Tragana from Sham 69, and
yeah,
the stuff he did in Lords of the New Church as well was a big influence to me. I'm like a huge
okay,
Lords of the Church fan. Also,
dude,
that
that's
was the band
awesome.
he had with Stiv Bators from the Dead Boys and Brian James for the Damned. band they
No, it's
formed.
like a super group.
Yeah, it was a super group back at the time. Yeah, they did, I think, 3 albums. Yeah, 3 albums, like early '80s. Yeah, killer band. Yeah, his bass playing was a huge influence on me. Um, Paul Simonon from the Clash. That's another guy I
Yeah.
got
Oh yeah.
totally inspired by his playing. You know, yeah, Vince Reardon from the Kanye Rejects, especially that dirty growling tone he had. Like you listen to those first couple of Rejects albums, and it's like that bass totally just stands out to me.
Oh,
So
there's a lot of the older material from
mhm.
all of punk in its subgenres that like the bass playing, if it was recorded right, there was a
Mhm.
lot of very unique bass tones back then
Oh,
because it was kind of a new sound in general. So like these dudes were really experimenting with their amps, their cabinets, their and
yeah,
also when you're young and poor, you don't have
yeah,
necessarily like you don't get to choose what you get, so you just get what
exactly.
you get and you make
I
it
was
sound
about
as
to
cool as
say,
you can.
yeah, a lot of shitty equipment too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sometimes you get really killer tones just because the lack of quality gear sometimes can be a good thing. I should say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Accidental, awesome is typically what I would refer to that as. Like, what is it? What does they say? They say that the necessity breeds, um, like not invention, but when you need something and you don't have a lot, you tend to just come up with answers. And I think that's exactly what we're talking about. Is
Yeah.
when you're, gifted a $79 guitar and a $30 amp, you're like, well, I guess I'm gonna make this sound as good as I can, and then that becomes an iconic sound, and all of a sudden you're going, dude, I didn't really mean for that, but whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Like how I got my first bass, I had a cousin who was a little older than me, and he was like, like a funk guy, he was into like a lot of funk stuff, like Ohio Players,
Oh yeah.
that kind of '70s like shit. And he was trying to learn how to play the bass, as he wanted to be like, he wanted to play that kind of stuff, but he never quite got there. Just
Okay.
eventually got tired and gave up, and it was just sitting around his house. So, yeah, he gave it to me. He knew I was really into like music and stuff at that time. He gave it to me, and made good use out of it.
I remember when I was younger, there was I don't remember what the model was, but there was a Fender guitar that was like real affordable. It was like $100, $120, something like that. But every time I was when I was in my like late teens, early 20s, whenever I was trying to start bands or I was singing for a band, whatever, we always wanted like Jacksons, Schecters, like these very specific models of like crunchy have. And then it's funny because as we get older, that old Fender guitar that nobody really wanted is the one that all my buddies are playing now. It's got a really nice clean channel on it. You can put some reverb in there and get a lot of these sounds that we're looking for these days. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm a total Fender guy. I've got two Fender
Yeah.
bass. Yeah.
My
Yeah. So
I'm an Ibanez hollow body guitar player. If I was gonna pick up a guitar again, I've got a Fender Tim Armstrong signature series that my wife bought me, but I've
okay.
got incredibly bad carpal tunnel now, and so playing
Uh,
guitar is almost impossible. Yeah, I could play for like 10 minutes, and then my hands are on fire for 2 days. So
oh, dude,
it,
that
it
sucks.
it blows, man. But
Yeah.
it is what it is, man. Like I said, the universe kind of points me in a direction, and I just go with it. And maybe playing music and writing it wasn't really what my life was supposed to be about. I actually have kids now, and like that is nothing I ever thought I'd do. And
Same.
it's like my favorite
Yeah.
thing in the world, bro.
Yeah.
You got kiddos too?
I have a 19-year-old daughter, and yeah, I
Okay.
was totally not. I didn't want kids. My girlfriend at the time, ex-wife, now baby mama, she didn't want kids, but it happened, and I got a wonderful kid out of it. Yeah.
Well,
We're
that's
still
it,
close.
dude. It's how it happens sometimes, man. So like I was on the road to probably the morgue or the jail, and I met my now wife, and all of a sudden she's like, hey, look, I'm pregnant, we got to figure this out. And I was like, oh, I gotta straighten myself up, man. I am a hot
Yeah.
mess.
Oh yeah,
And,
it changed my life completely. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
19's a pretty good age though. She's out of high school and everything. No.
Oh yeah, she's a college sophomore now. Yeah.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting feeling. I bet my oldest is 11, so
Okay.
he's not quite that age yet, but I see him every day. He's really intelligent, and he's testing really high. And I just like we go on walks. That's kind of what we do together. We go out and we walk for like 20, 30 minutes at a time and just go talk. And it's interesting because in the past about 2 years, he's become like a young man, and I could have a whole conversation with him.
Oh yeah, it's
It,
great. Like
it blows my
yeah,
mind.
yeah, being able to have adult conversations with my kid, it's like yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Well, I took them to see Rancid and Green Day last week because my
Oh,
wife's birthday is actually today, and my daughter's is in 2 days. And
oh, cool.
so, yeah, and I was like, hey, y'all want to go see Green Day and Rancid? And my son was even like, yeah, I want to go see them too. I was like, dude, this is amazing that my kids want to see this stuff.
Mhm.
And so we went and did that. And it was just like, when he brought up the fact, because he mentioned it to me one day, he just said, hey, Dad, I really like this Rancid stuff you're playing. And I was like, what? And I was like, all right. And so I got these little like brooding punk rock kids, hopefully in the making, who knows? But
Cool.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's interesting to see them even be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
When did you say, okay, when did you say that you started touring with Templars?
We've never really been a touring band, but I played my first show with them in the beginning. I think it was February of 1996 in New York.
Okay.
Like I think 97 we started playing outside in New York City. I think the first place I remember playing with them outside of New York was Atlanta.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, we started playing places like Atlanta, Boston, DC. Then eventually, like I think a year or two later, we made it out to the West Coast for the first time.
Okay,
And
that's cool.
that was an amazing time. Yeah, we played a couple of shows in the Bay Area with Lower Class Brats and The Forgotten.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was a good time. And I mean, yeah, I'm still friends with some of those guys to this day. Yeah,
Dude,
it was a really good time. Yeah.
that's a lineup right there, man.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, shows were packed. I've still got photos of those gigs. Yeah, it was good.
Well, when you're in
That
a
was a really good
band,
trip for us. Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My
No,
apologies.
good.
Whenever you're in a band and you're not necessarily making your living off of it, I don't know if people that aren't in the industry at all like don't understand how difficult it is to actually tour. So like
Yeah.
I'm not really surprised you said that because I've never seen y'all play live. And to
Well,
my knowledge,
yeah, I think Phil and Carl decided very early on they just wanted to keep it at like a hobby level. So, all the music business BS, wouldn't come
yeah,
to it. And we could kind of just do what we want to do when we want to do it, and not have to be obligated to do this or that or whatever.
that's
So,
perfect. I mean,
in some ways, I personally, I like to tour. At least I liked to tour when I was younger. I haven't. The last time I actually toured, I was in a band in Atlanta for a year called APA, Adolf and the Piss Artists, and we did 2 tours. No, 3. We did a week tour of the UK of England. We did a week and a half or so, I think, on the East Coast, and we came and did a week-long West Coast tour. So that's the only band up until now that I've really toured with. And yeah,
okay.
those are some fun times. I mean, towards the end and all that what happened with that band is kind of, I don't know if I want to get into it, but
No,
yeah,
no, whatever.
but shit happens. But
It does.
yeah, it was fun. Like I enjoy being on the road. At least I did 20 years ago. I mean, we
Right.
definitely plan to take Before Dawn out there, and we're all kind of in the same boat though. Like 3 of us have kids. Like our
Yeah.
singer has 2 kids, our drummer has 1, and everybody's got jobs and responsibilities that we just can't up and disappear for a month to go on the road. So, but I think we'll be able to get out and do a week here, maybe a week and a half,
Well,
here
I
and
think
kind of see what we can do when we can.
most bands now are doing like weekend
Yeah,
stints. They're like going out, or like you said, a week's a pretty good amount of time. You can get
we
a
can
good
cover a
4 or
lot of
5 shows
ground
in.
if you plan it
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah. Who all's okay? So
yeah.
who all is in Before Dawn with you?
Oh, okay. Well, I've got 3 ex-members of that street punk band, Clip 45. Yeah, Dave, the singer, Rico, one of the guitar players, and the original drummer, George.
That's
It's like,
incredible.
yeah, it's like, yeah, us 3, and that's how the band started. We started as a 4-piece, like playing gigs and stuff. Then around the end of last year, we got Matt on guitar, and his musical resume is probably the most impressive out of all of us. Like he was in Mad Sin, that German psychobilly
Oh,
band.
I know who Madsen is.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did 2 records with them. Played with them for 8 years. He played with Real McKenzie's. He toured with them.
Whoa.
He's a current member of the anarcho punk band Rubella Ballet. He still plays with them, and he's been in other bands also. So,
Man, all of you guys are like, in my, at least from my perspective, like pretty legendary musicians. That's awesome. I mean, it's one of these things where, you know, we'll talk off air about, but like it's pretty interesting, man. There's a lot of cool stuff happening, and I'm very
yeah.
excited to hear it. Very excited to help in any way that I can. But
I love playing with these guys. It's all, well, everybody kind of knows what it's like to, everybody's really experienced. These guys
yeah,
are all great musicians. And this is the first band I've been in where it's like everybody really contributes a lot to the songwriting. Like everybody brings ideas in, and because I mean, well, George and Matt, both are multi-instrumentalists also, so they can,
that's
they play
important.
chords and different things. So yeah, they bring a lot of ideas to the table. Dave pretty much writes the lyrics, but I've contributed lyrics to one song that we're about to add to the set, and so yeah,
Okay.
everybody contributes, and it's like a real, it's not like one or two guys like you were saying earlier pretty much doing everything. Everybody like contributes.
Well,
So
that's like
yeah,
the other end of the spectrum, though. Is like you can have the ones where the main fellas, quote unquote, are taking care of all the work duties and stuff. But
yeah.
if you get to where you have a band that has 4 or 5 members and everybody's bringing something to the table,
Mhm.
there's a few really big positives that could come out of that. You won't get stale, and
Right.
then you won't have somebody that's feeling like kind of useless or bored, and they won't want to just up and leave.
Yeah.
And I think those are very, very big positives in my opinion.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
uh,
Plus, I mean, I generally handle the most of the social media for the band.
okay,
George, our drummer, does like he's our designer. Like he's the most computer and tech savvy guy in the band, and he's very creative too. So he's pretty much designs our stickers and t. We're starting to come out with merch finally.
nice,
So he
nice.
designs all that, and booking kind of. I generally do most of the booking, but other guys have input too. If they get hit up about a show, we'll discuss it. See whether or not we can do it or if it's worth doing or whatever. So yeah, everybody brings something to the table, and it's good.
That's that. I like that. It keeps everybody feeling like they're needed, and when you feel like you're needed, whatever the project may be, it may just be a day job. Who knows? But
Right.
if you feel like you are an integral part of the machine working, then you come in with a little bit different attitude, in my experiences,
Yeah.
and it really helps when you're like playing shows, making merch, hopefully touring. That's going to come in very clutch, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. We're kind of in a weird position in a way because, I mean, majority of the gigs we played so far, basically, we've been offered through our contacts in the punk and oi scene.
Okay,
That's not necessarily what we're doing musically. But what's
sure.
interesting is like when we play, like we played with Bullshit Detector in San Diego to a primarily oi and punk crowd, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's
dude.
much been the response we've gotten to most of our shows. And when we played one more goth type audience, I mean, they've been really getting into it as well. So
I
it's been kind of cool seeing the cross pollination. If we can kind of keep
Yeah.
that going, we might be able to really, do something special. Like I'd love to have, like I really admire what Softkill have done. Getting back to them for a second, because there were all kinds of people there.
Yes.
I mean, there were
Yes.
skinheads there were like hardcore guys there. There were, a lot of just normal people there, kind of some goth type people. It was like a real mix of people, and
Well, they
everybody
have
was totally just, getting into the music. And
they have a
pretty
fairly
cool.
accessible sound.
Yeah, if we could kind of do something similar to that, I'd be very very happy.
I would
Gotta go.
love to hear something like that. That's I mean, my crowd will love it on my channel. We Homefront, Soft Kill, all those kind of bands. We listen to that stuff a lot on this channel.
Okay, yeah.
You ever heard Homefront?
Oh yeah, I like them. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
some stuff quite a bit. Graham, their singer, like we've all, well, yeah, at least me and the Clip guys, we've known him for years. Like going back to his previous
Okay.
Wednesday Night Heroes. Yeah, we were friends with him from back in those days. So yeah. Hopefully, when next time they come out this way, we'll be able to play some shows with them. We've talked about it. Hopefully, we can make it happen.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're a band that I would like to see live. I haven't seen them before.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see them live either. It's funny. Last time they came to LA, I was away with the Templars.
Oh, of
So
course.
yeah, I had to miss the show. But yeah.
So, two-pronged question.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to set some goals up for Templars over the next, let's say 12 to 18 months, not super short, but not real long either. Just like what kind of year and a half from now, is there something else you'd like to accomplish with the band, or as a collective that the band would like to accomplish?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One, try to get more shows in Europe. Our drummer Phil, he lives in a town outside of, maybe an hour outside of Barcelona now.
That's crazy.
Over in Spain. Yeah, he's been living over there for a couple of years. Has it been that long? Yeah, it's definitely been over a year. I think it's been 2 years now going on. He's been there. And I was thinking when he first moved over there, I'm like, oh, cool, we'll be able to get more shows in Europe. Hasn't quite happened that way. We just did the Beach Beer Chaos Festival in Badalona, Spain, which is just 30 minutes south of Barcelona on the Mediterranean. Yeah, that's always a great time. That was, I think, our third time playing that festival, and that was fun. But yeah, we're hoping. I really hope we get to do more in Europe, and I'm hoping. I don't want to start the rumor mill going, but there is some material floating around, and we've been working on some stuff. So
that's cool.
Hopefully, there's at least one more Templars record album that'll see the light of day eventually. But we'll see how that plays out. But it would be great if we could at least get one more record together. So
I'm absolutely positive people would appreciate that and want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think our last album that we did, that was a while ago, and I think it was 2017. I really liked that record a lot. I thought it was really good. And some of the stuff that I've heard that, Carl and Phil have worked on since is really, some of it's a little bit different, but it's still Templars, but it's just, different enough that I think it'll definitely get people's attention. It's not not what they're used to hearing from us completely. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Hopefully we can somehow pull it together and make it happen.
I'm sure it'll happen, man. If it's something that most of y'all want to do, I don't see there being too big of a problem getting it all accomplished. I would think.
It's just time. That's really the
right.
Carl's a family man. I'm out here doing my thing. Chris is doing his. And he's got another band as well, Luger. So yeah. I mean,
is that Oi music as well or no?
What they're doing is kind of, I guess the closest description I could describe it is kind of like Motorhead. That kind of rock, but it's definitely kind of a mix of punk and rock, kind of Motorhead stuff.
Okay. Is it Luger?
Huh? Yeah, but they spell the U with a V.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of a popular thing these days.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're good. They're a really good band. So
nice. I'll check them out. Yeah, it's interesting the difference, and I haven't been to Europe, so I don't know from experience, but just from the stories that I hear, it's different. It's interesting how the scene is over there. It seems like,
oh man,
maybe it's because people don't. I don't know. Maybe we're spoiled over here. I don't know what the difference is, but they seem to really take care of the artists over there. And everything seems to be really big. It's interesting.
That's exactly why. Yeah, I remember like we were talking before dawn. Last time we all really got together and got to kind of have a band meeting of sorts. And I'm like, Europe. I want to try to definitely get the record out over there. We all have contacts there, but they're primarily in punk and oi, and But I definitely want to get over to Europe to play some shows because it's like a totally different experience. First, I mean, everything is a lot more condensed geographically. So you don't have like a lot of the insane drives and stuff that you have here. I mean, that's one. Two, I mean, at least in Germany and Spain, some of the other countries I've actually been in, and the roads are a hell of a lot better. You don't have these raggedy ass interstates like we have here. Like you drive to Germany, it's like smooth as a baby's ass. I mean,
wow.
It's like a totally different experience. It's like the infrastructure over there in general is just a lot better than it is here. But that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, they totally take care of bands better. you have like, you know, they feed you. I mean, some venues we played there are more or less like they have like a, you know, an upstairs or a wing off somewhere where they have like, you know, they'll house you. You have beds and you can sleep there, shower. You know, I mean, yeah, you're taking care
Dude.
of on a whole different level than you are here in the States, where you're lucky you have a case of cheap beer and a pizza, you know.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
typically how it goes, but
So
that's insane that they have a spot where you can potentially sleep. That's
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
we played several venues over there that are like that. Yeah. I mean, I think
Huh.
well, one was a squat venue in Italy back in the day. We in outside of Milan. Yeah, was it in Milan? Yeah, I think yeah, it was Milan. Yeah, we played there, and it was like that. But we played a couple of spots in Germany where yeah, you know, yeah, have bunk beds and showers and
Dude, that's awesome.
yeah. So
That's
you know,
badass.
yeah, it is. It's yeah, it's really cool.
So I assume with Before Dawn, you have similar goals. You want to put some music out, tour, and like you said, get over to
Yeah,
Europe
like
and things.
yeah. What's today's Tuesday, Thursday? Yeah, we are finishing. We're doing vocals on our EP. We're doing a 5-song EP. It's going to be a 5-song.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah, we're finishing everything up on Thursday. So you will. I'll send you the tracks when it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd definitely love to talk with you about it and promote some of it on the channel. As soon as you let me give me the green light, I'll make sure it's up on the channel and people are hearing it
Absolutely.
and get some feedback on it.
Yeah.
Uh, so dude, I just lost it. I had a question in my head and I was thinking about it, and we started talking about that release, and my brain just went. "Vroom."
Uh,
I don't know.
I know.
What are some of the best places that you've played? If you had to pick a few places that are very memorable, just with I guess with Templars, I know you guys didn't tour per se, but you've played a fair amount
Oh,
of shows.
we played a lot of different places. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's like there's a lot. Pretty much Barcelona.
No shit.
Every show we've done in Spain in general, but especially around Barcelona, has been awesome. Great people. I mean, Barcelona is a beautiful city. You know, I mean, the food is amazing. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
we've always drawn really well there. Like lots of people. Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
one of my favorite places to play. If not,
Nice.
German, pretty much anywhere in Germany. We played big cities and small towns there. But
Okay.
like, yeah, pretty much any city in Germany. Munich was like particularly good. Um, Leipzig and some of the other places we played in Eastern Germany are really good. Prague was awesome. Not the biggest show we ever played, but just that whole trip was a blast. And Prague is like a beautiful city as well. It's like amazing. The architecture there is mind blowing.
Dude,
Um,
that's an
what?
underappreciated like thing, I think, is
Yeah.
like when you go somewhere. I would like to go some places just to look at the old architecture and some of
Oh
the
yeah.
just like I don't know, historic places, venues, and things to see, you know?
Yeah, it kind of makes me wish we had more of that here. I mean, there's a few historic buildings here in LA that are really cool, and like you go to like the northeastern US, like you know New England. I mean, they preserve
Yeah.
their architecture from you know the colonial times and stuff, and that's really nice. But for the most part, we really don't you know preserve.
It's weird, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it is.
weird. And we're
Yeah,
a
but
much younger country,
over there,
so
yeah, I mean the architecture is amazing. Oh, one other place I have to mention that's always been awesome for us too is Paris.
okay.
I love playing Paris. Yeah, great.
Dude.
Well, I mean, you know about a lot of French. So the Paris scene, they have one of the best scenes in the world now. It's like,
Well, that's what I was gonna mention.
I could
How
probably name 10 awesome bands off the top of my head just from there. And there's, you know, not even taking in the rest of France. You know,
right.
yeah,
Well, it's
great,
it's
great,
interesting whenever I started hearing
yeah.
like French bands. I think Syndrome 81 might have been the first one that I heard. I can't really remember, man. There's a handful that was in the first little clump.
Mhm.
And I just remember being like, "Oh, that's cool. This is from France." And then before you know it, I literally had like a written list of bands I wanted to check out, 20,
Yeah,
30 long, all of it from
yeah,
France. I was like,
right.
"What the hell is going on over there?"
Yeah,
Like, what
it's great. Yeah, the
what's
first French stuff I ever heard was going back to probably the late '80s, like Oi was. Like probably I think was comment. I think Commentary Sect might have been the first French band I heard. It was
okay.
either
They're
them or
very good.
Camera Silence. I can't remember which.
I'm doing a
But
whole
yeah,
video on that band.
yeah, those two bands and Snicks, Tall BX Toads. I kind of started getting in all that stuff, like, in the late '80s or so, when I started discovering, there was a lot going on with oi punk outside of the U.S. and Europe and the UK.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's weird seeing any of this stuff. Like, I always get not weirded out, but like I get kind of amazed when I see a strong punk scene in places like China and Japan and
yeah,
Mexico and
mhm.
Argentina.
Yeah. We played
Uh
Mexico. It's great down there. Have a really cool scene. Mexico City,
yeah,
Guadalajara, especially. Yeah,
that's amazing, man. Yeah, I'm doing a whole video on Camera Silence because their story is so bonkers. Like when I
yeah,
first heard about it, I was like,
that's
they
crazy.
did what? And I
Mhm.
was just like, I gotta tell people about this because it's historic, man. It's important in our world. It's at least to
Yeah,
me. I everybody is important. You're important. The singer of that band's important. I mean, R.I.P. But
right.
everybody that put some music out for the world to hear and played a show or opened up a venue. Everybody's story needs to be told. I think, and there's plenty of time for people to listen to them.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention the influence that band has had. Like, it's like pretty much like cold wave. I think you can trace its roots directly back to Camera Silence. I think that's kind of where that kind of sound started for the most part. You
Well,
know.
yeah, that and that one Blitz record.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which back in the day, everybody, including myself, hated. I
Yeah,
remember when that record. I was a huge Blitz fan in the early '80s. I remember when that record came out. I went to my record store and bought it. Mind you, I was like a punk. I had my studded leather, and I was like, I was 100% like UK punk rock back then. I get this album, and the cover looked a little bit strange. So I'm like, okay, it's a very basic, but whatever. Don't judge a record by its cover. I take it home. I put it on the turntable, and I was just sitting there like, what the fuck is going on, man? What the hell is this? I think I
dude.
listened to that record once. I don't think I even made it all the way through it, actually, and like ended up selling it back to the store I bought it from, like, a couple weeks later. I rediscovered it like maybe 10, 11 years ago, early 20 teens. I kind
Okay.
of went back. I was listening to Blitz on Spotify, and Second Empire Justice was on there. Like, let me check it out. And I kind of started like, this isn't that bad for what it is, and it kind of grew on me from there. Now we actually Before Dawn. We cover a song off of it. We do Flowers
Dude,
and
that's
Flowers.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's badass.
we've
Yeah,
kind
that
of
record is.
yeah,
I mean, every now and then a band puts out an album that it just takes a while. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes they know some shit we just don't know yet, and they're like, "No, look, trust us. Let it cook, man. It'll be fine. Give it a little while." Like 20 years later, like, "Oh, that's fucking, you were right, man. My bad." Like,
yeah.
yeah,
It definitely took it grew on me. Another band from that same era that put out a second album that I hated back then that I really like now is if you heard Anapasti from the
I
UK.
know the name, but I've
Yeah,
heard some of it, but I couldn't recall what it was.
yeah, they were huge back in like the early '80s, like '81, '82. Like their first album was it was on the charts in the UK. That's
Okay,
how popular they were back then.
that's
But yeah,
pretty
their
big.
second album, Caution in the Wind, I remember buying that, and I had a similar similar reaction to like the Blitz album. But now that record, I really like that one a lot too. Yeah, it grew on me a lot over time. So yeah,
There's a lot of bands like
yeah,
that though.
hmm
I also like whenever I hear like the general audience tell me that an album sucks, I'm always like, well, let me go listen to it. I feel like I might like it a little bit more.
hmm
Uh, a really good example of that, and this is such a terrible Green Day. They did that album called Father of All Motherfuckers, and everybody hates it. And I had never even heard it. And somebody goes, "Yeah, man, it's like almost like garage rock pop." And I was like, "Really?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I kind of want to hear that." And I played it and I was like, "Holy crap, I think this might be my favorite Green Day record." And people are like, "You're out of your mind." And I'm like, "It may be, but still a good album."
yeah, that happens. I'm one of those people. I know this is a minority opinion, but I'm sticking with it. I think Running Riot in '84 is a better record than Shock Troops. I just
Holy shit.
when you get into the lyrics, I mean, just the diversity of the songwriting on that record. Even though I know
I
Mickey Beaufoy, the guitarist, didn't play on it. It's like, I don't know.
I don't even know how to respond to that because Shock Troops is like a top 10 record all time for
I
me.
love it. Don't get me wrong. I love Shock Troops. I just think
No. I definitely
right 84 a little bit more. That's all I'm saying.
interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, no disrespect at all to Shock Troops, which is an awesome.
No, I didn't sound like you were
Yeah.
being disrespectful, but that one you did catch me off guard with that. I just not thought what I thought you were fixing to say.
And Guilty as Charged is right up there with both those records too in my book.
Well,
that was a hell of a comeback record.
And like if you listen to everything that they've ever put out, including their newest record, like does some of it sound kind of similar? Yeah, of course it does. But like shit, man, everything they write is like so catchy and like easy to understand and easy to identify with. And I feel like they're talking about me and my friends with every damn song they put out. And I'm like, how could you not like Cockspire? Like I remember the only reason I even knew who they were. I'm sure I would have found out about them later in life. But I remember I was at a friend's house and there was like a party and I was probably like 18, 19, pretty young still. And this cute girl was wearing a white shirt with the red Cockspire logo. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And she's like, what? I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, it's a band. I was like, oh, it's a band name? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, dang. And I didn't understand that oi and punk weren't the same thing back then. So I went and found I think I probably bought Shock Troops at the record store. It's probably the one they had available.
Yeah, I discovered them on the Strength Through Oi compilation.
Okay.
Came out in like 81. Yeah, they had like 2 songs on there, Chip on My Shoulder and Running Riot, I think.
Fuck yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. And dude, yeah. I was hooked from the beginning. The songs are so catchy, you know. It's like, yeah, they're impossible to get out of your head once you listen to them.
How do you feel about like compilation records? That I think that was a gateway for us, at least in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It was like you had to have it to kind of get introduced to some of your favorite bands.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's
how that was how I got introduced. Well, I guess I was already a fan of like the Upstarts and the Rejects and so those 3 bands, which are basically proto Oi, I guess I was already a fan of. But yeah, when Oi the album came out, and then actually Strength Through Oi was the first Oi compilation I got, because when that Southall riot happened with the Foreskins gig that ended in a riot, that was all over the news. That was even made the national news, like here in America.
That's crazy.
And I remember seeing it on TV and then reading about it. Like, I mean, my local record store the next week and reading about it in Sounds and the British like music papers, and I was like, man, this is crazy shit, and they were talking about Strength Through Oi because, and I went and bought it a couple of weeks later, and it's like one of my. It would definitely be one of the 10 records I'd probably take, on a desert island if I had to choose.
Yeah.
I got in. Yeah, every band on there just about is like awesome.
I mean, I've had a couple of copies of that on CD. I don't know if I've ever had it on vinyl. Probably not. But I had it on CD back in the 90s. No, probably late 90s. Anything I could get my hands on that had anything to do with punk, ska, reggae, oi. Sorry for the coughing. I would snatch it up as quick as I possibly could. I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to hang out at the record stores. Like that's what I did. I would go up there.
Yeah, yep.
And that's kind of a
Chicago called Wax Tracks Records. They used to get in all the British imports and stuff like that. Yeah, that was pretty much every week I get, and whatever job I had, I get paid and I'd, go straight to the record store.
Oh yeah.
The first step I would make, after I cashed my paycheck.
I think that's one thing we all have in common is going and taking our checks to the record store. I have my little record store and I just got a new location in our complex, and I don't move in until the 1st of November, but it's literally like the best spot I could possibly ask for. It's right next to the entrance and it's a corner front spot. It's already got like steel metal like bars in the windows, so I don't have to put extra security in. It's things are happening for me right now, and I don't really know why, but I'm very, very aware of it, and I am incredibly humbled and grateful by every single person that, dude. It's incredible, man. My life is so strange right now, and I'm very, very happy. It's odd to just be happy, It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot myself right now. So much, cool stuff is happening.
Hell yeah, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, I played some amazing gigs with like both bands this year, and and Before Dawn records coming out, and still have a
It's so
couple of
cool.
really good gigs, coming up before the end of the year with the Templars, so.
Nice.
And even in
That's
the next year,
amazing.
like, we got some really good shows coming up. So yeah, a lot to look forward to.
I hope I can catch a Templars show at some point. I would love to come out and meet you in person, get some
Yeah,
photos, and just hang out.
yeah, we're overdue for a trip to Texas. It's been like about 6, 7, or 8 years, I think, since we were last down that way. So hopefully,
Well,
if anybody out there's listening and wants to bring us to Texas, hit up our drummer Phil. He's our booking
I
agent.
uh
So send him a
I will
send him,
probably talk to some people about that and see if I can get
yeah,
the ball rolling. I would be very
yeah.
happy to have that become a reality, man. It'd be amazing.
Texas is
Uh,
Texas has always been great for us. We've enjoyed every single gig we played there, and they've all, yeah. So yeah, we'll come back anytime.
you know what's crazy about that is like I know we're like far away, and I've missed a lot of stuff due to the fact that I'm down in Texas. But one thing that I'm incredibly proud of is that every single artist I've ever spoken to has always said the same thing, man. Texas is great. We like it. Everybody's nice to us. And I'm like, man, I'm proud of that because it
Yeah,
would suck to be down here in the South like this and then also be a bunch of dicks and nobody wants to come hang out. Like that would, yeah.
yeah, yeah, man.
Oh, that'd be the worst.
I've always enjoyed. Yeah, we played a bunch of gigs in Texas over the years. It's just been a while since we've been back. I guess COVID like shut everything down. And,
Bro,
we're all still trying to kind of get back to where things were at
right,
before. We're not there
right.
yet. But yeah, we'll come back anytime. So.
Did you ever get to play in Fitzgerald's in Houston?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
believe.
was my home. That's where I
Yeah.
cut my teeth.
Yes, we have. We played that place. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's where I got to see most of my like favorite memories are from that
Yeah. That was a
venue.
cool venue. I liked it. Is it
Yeah.
still around or?
No, man, a few years ago, I guess it got like bought or something. It crushed our whole city, man. Everybody was like, "What? Like
Um,
Fitzgerald's?" Like, I mean, there's like Fat Records put out like a documentary, and a bunch of the footage is all from Fitzgerald's because some
oh,
guy that used to go there documented everything. He filmed everything. So like that place is bigger than just Houston. It was a very important venue to a lot of people, and
mhm.
yeah, man, it was a bummer, man. But things come, things go, I guess. But well, shoot, man, our time has come and gone. That went by fast, dude.
Oh,
Time flies on by when you're having a good time.
yeah. I guess it does.
Before we get out of here, man, is there anybody else that you want to shout out? Anybody you want to throw a little shine to that we can help get a little, spotlight on? Any friends got any friends with bands that you want to let us know about or anything like that?
Yeah, like I had a band going out here in LA for a few years called Bees Berries. We it was kind of more, it was oi, but like a harder, like more metal edged kind of oi.
Okay.
And then it was different than any of us, in the band had done, previous, which is like, you're gonna start another band, you might as well try to do something a little bit different. but,
Right. Right.
but yeah, our drummer Lou, he's in that band Bomber that's playing with
Okay.
us Friday. They're a really good new band. Yeah, I think they recorded recently, so I'm not sure what their plans are as far as the release. But yeah,
Okay.
you guys should definitely watch out for them. They're really good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a couple of good street punk bands here in LA too that I like a lot. Dog Face Bastards and Still Pissed. I mean, those guys.
Yes, those are the homies.
Yeah, they're a good, great bunch of guys, and yeah, both bands are really solid. And
Yeah, dude.
hopefully it'll be cool if we we'll get to play with them at some point.
Shit, yeah, dude. Those are guys that I got a lot of. I've spent a fair amount of time talking with those dudes, and
Yeah.
good guys, man. Everybody that I've met in California has been super solid, with the exception of one person. No, I'm not gonna try to.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so like everything else has been super
Yeah,
solid.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't sure if you knew what I meant or not. I was like, I don't want to go into it. Fucking stupid.
Yeah, no point in it, man.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But dude, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I'd love to talk with you again. Maybe once the Before Dawn stuff comes out, we can talk again, talk about, the reception is getting just kind of.
Yeah, if you want to do that, maybe I'll get some of the other guys in the band to come.
Absolutely.
Stuff. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to do that.
100%, man. Well, Perry, thank you so much for your time, bro. I appreciate it, man. And I'll keep in touch on Instagram. Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure, dude. So I'll talk to you soon, man. We'll stay in touch. Awesome, man. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
All right, later, man.